Hello, welcome to my channel. Today I am going to go through the Bmat 2016 Section 1. If you found this video informative, please like, comment and share this video. Now let the explaining begin. Question 1. A school has 120 pupils, in 5-year groups. The following table gives some details about the numbers of boys and girls in each year group. There is a probability of 1 in 12 that a boy selected at random is in year 4. What is the probability that a year 4 pupil selected at random is a boy? The answer is B because of the following. There are a total of 120 pupils at the school. From the table, we know that of these 120 pupils 48 are girls. Therefore, there must be 120 minus 48 equals 72 boys in the school. As there is a probability of 1 in 12 that a boy selected at random is in year 4, then 1 over 12 of the total number of boys must be in year 4. Therefore, there are 72 divided by 12 equals 6 boys in year 4. In order to work out the probability that a year 4 pupil selected at random is a boy, then we must also know the total number of pupils in year 4. This is accomplished by subtracting the total pupil numbers for the other year groups, all of which apart from year 4 are known. Therefore, there are 120 minus 24 minus 16 minus 40 minus 24 equals 16 pupils. Therefore, the probability that a year 4 pupil selected at random is a boy is 6, the number of boys in year 4, divided by 16, the total number of pupils in year 4, equals 3 over 8. Thus, option D is correct. Question 2. Forest fires in Indonesia this year have emitted 1.6 gigatons of CO2. To put that in perspective, it has been estimated that the entire world must emit less than 1,000 gigatons of CO2 every year from now on if we are to avoid dangerous global warming. When forest vegetation burns, the amount of CO released into the atmosphere can be taken back up again by the plants as they regrow. But in Indonesia it is not only the plants that are burning. Peat that has accumulated over thousands of years is also on fire, releasing buried carbon. Forest fires in Indonesia burn most fiercely in years when the region is drier, as it is this year. Rain arrived in Indonesia recently, and the number of new fires has dropped. Which one of the following is a conclusion that can be drawn from the above passage? The correct answer is B because the text states that whilst some of the released CO2 will be taken back up as plants regrow, some of the emissions come from the burning of peat which accumulates over thousands of years. The CO2 produced from the burning peat will likely remain in the atmosphere as the peat process is too slow to take it back up. Question 3. Charges for bed and breakfast at the Dongkleur Hotel are as follows. However, guests who stay for 7 or more consecutive nights pay $40 per night for the whole of their stay. Additionally, the bill for the hotel will include any charges incurred for the use of the car park. The charge for the car park is $5 per night or $25 for a 7-night permit. John stayed at the hotel recently for 5 consecutive nights, keeping his car in the car park. He has now booked 8 consecutive nights next month, and again he will keep his car in the car park. John never has any other charges added to his bill. How much more than last time will John's bill for his next stay at the Dongkleur Hotel be? The correct answer is B because of the following. John's previous stay at the Dongkleur Hotel, charge for nights 1 and 2 equals $50 plus $50 equals $100. Charge for nights 3 minus 5 equals 3 multiplied by $40 equals $120. Charge for car park equals 5 multiplied by $5 equals $25. Total cost of stay equals $100 plus $120 plus $25 equals $245. John's next stay at the Dongkleur Hotel. Charge for nights 1 minus 8 equals 8 multiplied by $40 equals $320. Charge for car park for nights 1 minus 7 equals $25. Charge for car park for night 8 equals $5. Total cost of stay equals $320 plus $25 plus $5 equals $350. $350 minus $245 equals $105. Therefore, John's bill for his next stay will be $105 more expensive than his bill for his last stay. Thus, options B is correct. Question 4. When we listen to music, electrical waves in our brains tend to synchronize to the tempo. In a recent study, scientists recorded the brain waves of musicians and non-musicians as they listened to music. Although the brain waves of both groups synchronized to many rhythms, those of non-musicians did not synchronize to particularly slow music. The non-musicians reported that they could not keep track of the tempo in slow music. This shows that becoming a musician requires an innate tendency for the brain to synchronize to the tempo of any speed of music. Which one of the following identifies a flaw in the above argument? The correct answer is B, because if musical training promotes the development of the ability to synchronize brain waves to tempo, then this suggests that it is not an innate tendency and not a limiting factor in becoming a musician. Question 5. The students in a physics class took a practical test and a written test. Their results are shown in the following table. Their teacher has drawn a scatter graph, shown below, but one student's marks are missing. Which student's marks are missing from the scatter graph? The correct answer is A, because of the following. First, it is necessary to work out which set of scores each axis represents. The person scoring lowest on the written paper was Liz. As Liz's name is not an option in the question, we can assume that her marks are represented on the graph. She scored 25 on the written paper. If we assume that the y-axis represents the written marks, then the second point from the left would be Liz's. If each line of the y-axis represents a 10-mark increase on the previous point, then reading off the graph the highest mark is 68, which matches the data. Kai scored 68 marks on the written test. Furthermore, on the written test there is a group of 3 high-scoring marks, 64, 66 and 68, whilst on the practical test Haas achieved a significantly higher mark than the other students, 19 marks, with the closest other mark being Den with 15. There is a grouping of top marks on the y-axis and a single top mark alone on the x-axis, fitting with the interpretation that the y-axis represents marks from the written test and the x-axis marks from the practical test. On the x-axis each line represents a 5-mark increase on the previous line. After configuring the graph, it is simply a case of going through each option and seeing if a point correlates to their score combination. Con equals mark combination does not correspond to a point on the graph. Fifth point from the left represents Fio's marks. Therefore, Con's marks are missing from the graph and option A is the correct answer. Den equals second point from the right. Fio equals fifth point from the left. Go equals sixth point from the left. Joe equals fourth point from the left. Therefore, option A is correct. Question 6. Wide-ranging increases in the cost of bringing a civil court case recently announced by the UK government are an assault on citizens' access to the law. It is tantamount to treating justice like a commodity. The latest proposals will increase fees by more than 1,000% for claims of £200,000 or more. They will deter individuals and small businesses from taking cases to court, for fear of the cost if they lose, crippling anyone trying to recover monies owed to them. All civil cases, from divorce to landlords trying to get their property back, are affected. If justice is not to be out of reach of the majority of ordinary people, the government must think again. The civil courts are the backbone of a fair society and a prosperous economy. Which one of the following best expresses the main conclusion of the above argument? The correct answer is D, because it encapsulates both the point that the new system will mean that most individuals, small businesses will be unable to afford the increased price of seeking justice, making it inaccessible, and also the point that this is not necessarily the government's intention and there is opportunity to reconsider the proposed changes. Question 7. Citizens of Bmat pay tax on their incomes each calendar year, as follows. In 2014, Paul paid a total of $5,600 tax on his year's income. In 2015, however, he paid $800 less than in 2014, despite earning $2,000 more. What was Paul's total income in 2015? The correct answer is D, because of the following. For Paul to pay less tax on a greater income in 2015 compared to 2014, when the tax system remained unchanged between the 2 years, we must assume that in 2014 Paul fell into the under 50 tax bracket, but in 2015 fell into the 50 and over tax bracket. In 2015 Paul paid $5,600 minus $800 equals $4,800 tax on his income. The first $14,000 of Paul's income were tax-free. However, the next $33,000 incurred a 20% tax rate. If Paul had earned the total of this additional $33,000, then his tax would have been $33,000 multiplied by 0.2 equals $6,600. Therefore, Paul's income must have been below $14,000 plus $33,000 equals $47,000. If $4,800 equals 20%, then 100% equals $4,800 times 5 equals $24,000. Therefore, in 2015 Paul's income was $14,000 plus $24,000 equals $38,000. Thus option D is correct. This question could also have been worked out by calculating Paul's income in 2014 and then adding $2,000. Question 8. A new electronics company has released 6 new products this year. Product 1 at the start of January, Product 2 at the start of March, Product 3 at the start of May, Product 4 at the start of July, Product 5 at the start of September and Product 6 at the start of November. Sales from the factory are always in multiples of 50 units. The charts below show the total number of each of the products sold in each quarter of the year and the income from sales of each product in December. The prices at which the different products are sold are shown below. What was the total income for April to June? The correct answer is C because of the following. Only Product 1, Product 2 and Product 3 were available to buy during the April to June window. Therefore, the total income for this period equals the sum of the sales of these 3 products during the window of time. The total number of sales for each product was 800 units. Therefore, the simplest method of solving this problem is by multiplying the sum of the product prices per 100 units by 8, £1,500 plus £2,000 plus £1,500 equals £5,000, sum of product prices per 100 units of each product, £5,000 multiplied by 8 equals £40,000. Therefore, the total income for April to June was £40,000 and option C is correct. Question 9. When Product 2 had been on sale for 3 months, 2/3 of its sales had been in the first month. How much money was generated from sales of Product 2 in June? The correct answer is D because of the following. The first 3 months during which Product 2 could be bought were March, April and May. As March is the only month in the January to March period during which Product 2 was sold, we can assume that all 900 units sold during this period were sold in March. Therefore, the income from sales of Product 2 in March were £2,000 multiplied by 9 equals £18,000 for the period March to May, first 3 months on sale. The sales in March represented 2/3 of the total sales in this period. If 2 divided by 3 equals £18,000, then 1/3 equals £18,000 divided by 2 equals £9,000. Therefore, the income from Product 2 for the months April and May summed to £9,000. In the period April to June 800 units of Product 2 were sold. Therefore, in this period the total income from Product 2 was £2,000 multiplied by 8 equals £16,000 as we have already calculated the income for Product 2 in April and May, £9,000, then the money generated from the sales of Product 2 in June equaled £16,000 minus £9,000 equals £7,000. Thus, option D is correct. Question 10. How many units of Product 6 were sold in November? The correct answer is D because of the following. In the period October to December, Product 6 was only available for purchase in November and December. A total of 600 units of Product 6 were sold during this period. £6,000 was generated from the sale of Product 6 in December. As the price of Product 6 per 100 units was £4,000, then 150 units of Product 6 were sold in December. 6,000 divided by 4,000 equals 1.5. Therefore, in the month of November the number of units of Product 6 sold were 600 minus 150 equals 450 units. Thus option D is correct. Question 11. Which of the products has had the highest average monthly sales, in terms of number of units sold, since it was released? The correct answer is E because of the following. Product 1 1,000 units over 3 months, January to March, 800 units over 3 months, April to June, 700 units over 3 months, July to September, 500 units over 3 months, October to December. Therefore, the average monthly unit sales were 1,000 plus 800 plus 700 plus 500, divided by 12 equals 250 units per month. Product 2,900 units over 1 month, March 800 units over 3 months, April to June, 800 units over 3 months, July to September, 700 units over 3 months, October to December. Therefore, the average monthly unit sales were 900 plus 800 plus 800 plus 700, divided by 10 equals 320 units per month. Product 3,800 units over 2 months, May to June, 1,100 units over 3 months, July to September, 700 units over 3 months, October to December. Therefore, the average monthly unit sales were 800 plus 1,100 plus 700, divided by 8 equals 325 units per month. Product 4,700 units over 3 months, July to September, 500 units over 3 months, October to December. Therefore, the average monthly unit sales were 700 plus 500, divided by 6 equals 200 units per month. Product 5,700 units over 1 month, September, 700 units over 3 months, October to December. Therefore, the average monthly unit sales were 700 plus 700, divided by 4 equals 350 units per month. Product 6,600 units over 2 months, November to December. Therefore, the average monthly unit sales were 600 divided by 2 equals 300 units per month. Therefore, option E was correct. Question 12. Time is represented in an unusual way in Belandia. The format is HH, where represents the number of minutes to the next hour, HH. For example, 1703 represents 17 minutes before 3 a.m. However, there are still 60 minutes in an hour and 24 hours in a day. Helen is staying in a hotel in Belandia, and the clocks in the hotel display time in this way. When she goes to bed one evening, the clock in her room reads 21:23. She wakes up a while later and sees that the clock says 23:04. For how long has Helen been asleep? The correct answer is D because of the following. There would be exactly a 5-hour gap between 21:23, 21 minutes to 11 p.m., and 21:04, 21 minutes to 4 a.m. Therefore, Helen has been asleep 2 minutes shy of 5 hours, 23 minutes to 4 a.m. opposed to 21 minutes to 4 a.m. Therefore, Helen has been asleep for 4 hours and 58 minutes and option D is correct. This question can also be tackled by converting the time format into the more standard hour then minute display and work out the difference between these two times. Question 13. Research has shown that parents with high incomes tend to have children who score highly in IQ tests. It is very unlikely that this is because having rich parents improves one's IQ. Much more likely is that being intelligent tends to result in having a high income, since a high level of intelligence is required for entering well-paid professions such as medicine and law. The research did not examine whether the relationship between parental income and children's IQ scores was dependent on the nature of the parent's profession. If it were found that the children of high earners in sport and entertainment did not generally have high IQ scores, we could conclude that the intelligence level of children is largely genetically inherited from their parents. Which one of the following is an assumption underlying the above argument? The correct answer is A because if a high level of intelligence is required for a career in sport or entertainment, then finding that children of high earners in sport or entertainment do not generally have high IQ scores would actually contradict the argument that intelligence level is genetically inherited rather than support it. Therefore, the argument assumes that a career in sport or entertainment does not require a high level of intelligence. Question 14. At the beginning of last year, Sam had $1,000 in her bank account. The following graph shows the changes, in hundreds of dollars, in the balance of money in her account over that year. At the end of how many months last year did Sam have more than $1,300 in her account? The correct answer is D because of the following. Sam's bank balance at the end of each month, January, $1,000 plus $300 equals $1,300. February, $1,300 minus $200 equals $1,100. March, $1,100 plus $200 equals $1,300. April, $1,300 plus 0 equals $1,300. May, $1,300 plus $400 equals $1,700. June, $1,700 minus $200 equals $1,500. July, $1,500 minus $400 equals $1,100. August, $1,100 plus $200 equals $1,300. September, $1,300 minus $100 equals $1,200. October, $1,200 plus $300 equals $1,500. November, $1,500 minus $100 equals $1,400. December, $1,400 plus 0 equals $1,400. Therefore, there were a total of 5 months at the end of which Sam has more than $1,300 in her account. Thus, option D is correct. Question 15. A group of UK scientists have a rare opportunity to study human brains thanks to the promise of donations of brains after death by some members of a study group. The dissection of these brains and the counting of the numbers of synapses in them may add evidence to the idea of cognitive reserve. When a person gets older, they start to lose some brain synapses, with a negative impact on cognitive function. Those elderly people who have led a brain-friendly lifestyle when younger are thought to have created extra synapses, mitigating the naturally occurring loss of synapses through age. Adopting a brain-friendly lifestyle when younger should make it possible to retain cognitive performance into old age. Such a lifestyle is thought to include reading books, being socially active and physically healthy. Which one of the following can reliably be concluded from the information in the above passage? The correct answer is B, because the proposed mechanism is that a healthy lifestyle encourages synapse formation. However, there will always be variation between individuals, hence the qualifying on average. Question 16. 5 friends are sitting at a round table playing the LRC dice game. There are 5 dice. Each face of each die has one letter, L, R or C, written on it. Going clockwise around the table, the friends are seated in the following order: Alan, Carmen, Ian, Prem and Ruthie. Each friend has 5 coins for the game. Each player in turn rolls the 5 dice and distributes their coins according to the letters on the top of the rolled dice. An L on a die requires passing 1 coin to the player on their left, an R on a die requires passing 1 coin to the player on their right, and a C on a die requires putting 1 coin in the center of the table. The table below shows the outcome of the dice rolling of the 5 players. At the end of the round, which player ends up with the fewest coins? The correct answer is A, because of the following. To solve this problem, it is first necessary to work out where the players are sitting relative to one another. The order goes clockwise round the table. Going clockwise from Alan to Carmen means that Carmen is on the left of Alan. Therefore, after one round Alan has the fewest coins. Thus option A is correct. Question 17. Overprescription of antibiotics by doctors who respond to patients' demands has raised the drug resistance of harmful bacteria. Drug-resistant bacteria can make routine surgery and minor cuts fatal if infections take hold. We could introduce penalties for doctors who overprescribe, but this would not be enough. Given the scale and escalation of antibiotic resistance, we need to discover a new class of antibiotics. In the past, pharmaceutical companies have not regarded research on antibiotics as potentially profitable. Governments should give financial incentives to the pharmaceutical industry to intensify work on finding new classes of antibiotics which could be kept in reserve for emergencies such as a global epidemic. This would make it more attractive for pharmaceutical companies to carry out the necessary research. Which one of the following, if true, most strengthens the above argument? The correct answer is A, because if a new antibiotic was discovered, preventing routine sales of the antibiotic would limit its use and reduce the risk of bacteria in the population developing resistance against it. Question 18. I have a deposit of £25,000 that I want to use to help to buy a house. The purchase price of the house is £150,000, and the remainder of the cost of the house is to be financed using a mortgage. My building society offers 5 mortgages, the details of which are published on its website as follows. If the bank base rate, currently 2.0%, stays the same over the next year, which of the mortgages that I am eligible for will cost me the least in fees and interest over the first year? The correct answer is D, because of the following. The first step to solving this problem is to work out which of the mortgages we are eligible for given a £25,000 deposit. The house costs a total of £150,000, therefore in addition to the £25,000 deposit we must borrow £150,000 minus £25,000 equals £125,000. £125,000 is a percentage of the total price of the house is £125,000 divided by £150,000 multiplied by 100 equals 83.3%. Therefore, the only mortgages that are available to us are mortgages 3, 4 and 5. The next step of the question is to calculate which of these eligible mortgages would be cheapest over the next year given the bank base rate stays at 2%. Mortgage 4 would be the cheapest over the next year and thus option D is correct. Drilled in Oklahoma in 2012 was unavailable. Assuming it rose by the same proportion as neighboring Texas against the 2005 to 2011 average, which of the following would be the best estimate of the missing number? The correct answer is C because of the following. First, it is necessary to estimate the number of wells drilled in 2012 in Texas is a percentage of the number of wells drilled in the same state from 2005-2011 to 13,540 divided by 33,753 multiplied by 100 is roughly equal to 40%. Next, 40% of the number of wells drilled in Oklahoma between 2005 and 2011 must be estimated. 2,694 multiplied by 0.4 is roughly equal to 1080. Therefore, option C at 1081 is the best estimate of the missing number. Question 20. The amount of water used per well varied significantly between states over the period from 2005 to 2012. Of the states for which data was available, Louisiana had the highest value and Utah had the lowest. What was the difference between those two values? The correct answer is C because of the following. Louisiana, total number of wells drilled between 2005 and 2012 to 2,327 plus 139 equals 2,466 total water used, 12,000 million gallons water used per well, 12,000 million gallons divided by 2,466 equals 4.87 million gallons per well. Utah, total number of wells drilled between 2005 and 2012 to 1,336 plus 765 equals 2,101 total water used, 590 million gallons water used per well, 590 million gallons divided by 2,101 equals 0.28 million gallons per well. Difference between the two states, 4.87 minus 0.28 equals 4.59 million gallons per well. Therefore, option C is correct. Question 21. Which of the following statements above can be concluded from the information in the table and the text? 1. The fracking fluids used in Texas from 2005 to 2012 contained 880 million gallons of chemicals, with the risk of contaminating drinking water. 2. A typical coal-fired power station in the U.S. emits approximately 36 million tons of CO2 in 1 year. 3. A typical Colorado household needs around 130,000 gallons of water per year. The correct answer is E because of the following. Statement 1. The text states that 0.8% of fracking fluid is a mix of chemicals. 0.8% of 110,000 million gallons equals 880 million gallons. The text states that these chemicals can enter drinking water supplies. Therefore, Statement 1 can be concluded from the table and the text. Statement 2. The total CO2 equivalent in tons produced by completion of the fracking wells was 100,551,000 tons. The text states this value is equivalent to the CO2 emissions of 28 coal-fired plants in a year. Therefore, each year the average coal-fired plant produces approximately 3.6 million tons of CO2 per year. Therefore, Statement 2 cannot be drawn from the information. Statement 3. Total amount of water used for fracking in Colorado between 2005 and 2012 equals 26,000 million gallons. The text states that this is enough to nearly meet the water needs of 200,000 households in the state for a year. Therefore, a Colorado household requires 26,000 million, 200,000 equals 130,000 gallons of water a year. Therefore, Statement 3 can be concluded from the information. Therefore, option E is correct, as only statements 1 and 3 can be concluded from the information of the table and text. Question 22. Which of the following, if true, would offer a convincing explanation for the wide variation in water consumption per well in different states? 1. Water supplies are more plentiful in some states than others. 2. The technology for extracting shale gas has developed slowly in the lifetime of fracking. 3. Some states have drilled many more wells than others. The correct answer is H because of the following. If true, Statement 1 would not offer a convincing explanation for the variation in water consumption because Texas consumed the most water even though it was struggling from extreme drought. If true, Statement 2 would not offer a convincing explanation for the variation in water consumption because even if the technology has developed slowly over time, this doesn't explain variation between states in each year. If true, Statement 3 would not offer a convincing explanation for the variation in water consumption because although Texas drilled the most wells, Louisiana consumed the most water per well. Therefore, the number of wells drilled does not necessarily have an effect on the water used per well. Therefore, option H is correct. Question 23. The drawing below shows the outlines of 3 pieces of card, 1 square and 2 right-angled triangles, which all fit exactly around the same size circle. The pieces of card are pinned together through the centers of the circles and each of the card shapes can be rotated about the pin so that together the 3 shapes make an interesting outline. Which one of the following is a possible outline of the 3 shapes? The correct answer is D because of the following. Option A is not a possible outline because regardless of the orientation of the square, one of its vertices that should be visible is not. Option B is not a possible outline because the right-angled vertex of the first right-angled triangle should go above the circle and the right-angled vertex of the second right-angled triangle should go below the circle, but both are missing in option B. Option C is not a possible outline because the right-angled vertex of the first right-angled triangle should go above the circle, but it is missing in option C. Option D is a possible outline because all the shape's vertices are visible or correctly covered by another shape. Option E is not a possible outline because regardless of the orientation of the square, one of its vertices that should be visible is not. Question 24. A brisk 30-minute walk 5 days a week is more effective than any other form of exercise for keeping weight down regardless of age, a major study has concluded. The effectiveness of high-impact walking in keeping weight down is greater than that from keep fit activities including running, swimming and working out in the gym. Men who walked briskly for 30 minutes 5 days a week for 4 weeks had a BMI 1 unit lower than average. For women, the difference was 1.8 units. For those who exercised or participated in sporting activities over similar periods, however, the results were less marked. Men's BMI was 0.3 units lower and women's about 1 unit lower. The explanation for this is likely to be that calorie burning is optimized when walking because it is a constant, uninterrupted activity, unlike games such as tennis which are more stop-start. Which one of the following, if true, would most weaken the above argument? The correct answer is C because if people who play sport often drink beers together afterwards, it may be the drinking of the beer itself that explains the difference in BMI change and not the calorie burning efficiency of the sport itself. Question 25. To mark Back to the Future Day on October 21, 2015, the Galaxy Cinema screened all 3 of the Back to the Future films, in order, twice. The running times of the films were as follows. Back to the Future is 117 minutes, Back to the Future Part 2 is 109 minutes, Back to the Future Part 3 is 119 minutes. The performance times were arranged so that the first showing of the first film began at 10:15 and the second showing of the last film ended at 22:45. The interval between successive films was the same throughout the day. How long was each interval between successive films? The correct answer is D because of the following. The total time for a single run-through of all 3 films would have been 117 plus 109 plus 119 equals 345 minutes. Therefore, the time taken to run through all 3 films twice would have been 345 multiplied by 2 equals 690 minutes. The first film started at 10:15 and the last film ended at 22:45. The length of time between these 2 points is 12 hours and 30 minutes. Converted into minutes, this is 12 multiplied by 60, plus 30 equals 750 minutes. Therefore, the total time of the intervals was 750 minus 690 equals 60 minutes. There would not have been an interval before the first film or after the last film, meaning there would have been 5 intervals in total. Therefore, the duration of each interval was 60 divided by 5 equals 12 minutes. Therefore, option D was correct. Question 26. The sale of self-help books that claim to reveal the secret of happiness generated $10 billion in 2009. But if you want to become more contented with life, you shouldn't read these books, because reading them will have the opposite effect. Researchers at the University of Montreal found that those who had read such books were more likely to be anxious and depressed than those who had never read them. Which one of the following is the best statement of the flaw in the above argument? Option B is the correct answer because the argument implies that the reading of self-help books is the cause of reduced contentment with life, but if the group of people who read self-help books are already more anxious and depressed than the rest of the population, the finding that people who read such books were more likely to be depressed or anxious could have nothing to do with the act of reading the book itself. Question 27. The table below shows a record of my blood pressure and pulse readings over 9 days. What was my pulse on the occasion when I had the biggest difference between systolic and diastolic readings? The correct answer is F because the greatest difference between systolic and diastolic blood pressure Thursday p.m., 149-81 equals 68. The pulse at this time was 86. Therefore, option F is correct. Question 28. Recent theories about the causes of cancer have held that most cancers are caused by internal factors, the result of inevitable mistakes in the human body rather than anything environmental. This would seem to imply that whether or not a person develops cancer is entirely out of his or her control. What that person does in terms of lifestyle choices is irrelevant. And yet the latest high-profile study has strongly challenged this. It estimates that between 70 and 90% of the most widespread cancers have extrinsic causes, such as ultraviolet radiation, pollution, and stress. If this study is to be believed, then whether or not you develop some cancers is no longer just something you can blame on your biology, but is to a significant extent within your own control. Which one of the following is an assumption underlying the above argument? The correct answer is D because there are some external factors in the development of cancer that the risk of cancer is not entirely out of the person's control. However, if the external factors were uncontrollable, then the risk of cancer would still be entirely out of a person's control. Question 29. I have a piece of string which I stretch out in a straight line. I then take a thin red felt tip pen and make a small mark in the middle of the string. Then I fold the string in half and again stretch it out, holding onto the fold and to the two ends. This time I make a small mark in the middle of both strands of the folded string with a thin green pen. Then I fold it in half again and make a small blue mark in the middle of each strand of the folded string. Finally I fold it in half once more, and this time I make a small purple mark in the middle of each strand of the folded string. Now I unfold the string and stretch it back out to its full original length. How many marks are there on the string in between the two green marks? The correct answer is B because of the following. The number of marks made on the string doubles each time the string is folded. Red marks, 1 green marks, 2 blue marks, 4 purple marks, 8 between the two green marks is exactly half of the length of the string. Therefore, half of all the marks made after the green marks will be between the two green marks. Therefore, 2 of the blue marks will be between the green marks and 4 of the purple marks. The single red mark will also be between the two green marks. Therefore, there would have been 7 marks between the two green marks and option B is correct. Question 30. People wonder whether or not machines could ever become conscious, but it's obvious that one day they will. After all, if consciousness is just the result of the working of the brain, and if the brain is just a complicated machine, then what's to stop machines becoming complex enough to be conscious? Every year machines get more and more complex. It's only a matter of time before they acquire consciousness. Which one of the following is the best statement of the flaw in the above argument? The correct answer is D because the text makes too large assumptions about the nature of consciousness and the workings of the brain without providing any supporting evidence. Question 31. There are 2 types of goal that can be scored in the sport of chargeball, a fess, worth 7 points, and a pail, worth 2 points. In a match played last night, the Argents beat the Sables by just 1 point. The Argents scored 1 fess fewer than the Sables. The Sables scored the same number of fesses and pails. The Argents scored exactly twice as many pails as fesses. How many pails did the Argents score in last night's match? The correct answer is D because of the following. The way to solve this question is to set up several equations. AF equals number of fesses scored by the Argents and SF equals number of fesses scored by the Sables. AP equals number of pails scored by the Argents and SP equals number of pails scored by the Sables. From statement 1, AF equals SF minus 1 SF equals AF plus 1. From statement 2, SF equals SP from statement 3 to 2. AF equals AP. The fact that the Argents beat the Sables by 1 point. 7 AF plus 2 AP equals 7 SF plus 2 SP plus 1. Converting all terms to Fesses. 7 AF plus 4 AF equals 7 SF plus 2 SF plus 1. 11 AF minus 9 SF minus 1 equals 0. Substituting in AF for SF from the statement 1 equation gives 11 AF minus 9, AF plus 1, minus 1 equals 02. AF minus 10 equals 0. AF equals 5. AP equals 2. AF equals 10. Therefore, option D is correct. Question 32. What is the polyunsaturated content of a 50-50 mixture of olive and sunflower oils as a percentage of the mass of the mixture? The correct answer is A because of the following. In olive oil, there are 10 grams of polyunsaturated fat per 100 grams. In sunflower oil, there are 65.7 grams of polyunsaturated fat per 100 grams. Therefore, the polyunsaturated content in a 50-50 mixture of these oils is 65.7 plus 10, divided by 2 equals 37.85 grams equals 37.9 grams. 37.9 grams in 100 grams equals 37.9%. Therefore, option A is correct. Question 33. Which one of the following is an assumption made in thinking that the optimal omega-6, omega-3 ratio is approximately 2 to 1? The correct answer is A because the 2 to 1 ratio doesn't mean the nutrition was optimal. It could have simply been a result of the relative availability of these two nutrients. Question 34. If the only vegetable oil used by a typical European consumer is canola oil, what is his or her intake of erucic acid as a percentage of the PTDI? The correct answer is B because of the following. The typical fat consumption by an adult in the EU is stated to be 143 grams, with 30% of this being vegetable oils. This is a consumption of 143 divided by 100 multiplied by 30 equals 42.9 grams of vegetable oils. If the only vegetable oil consumed is canola oil, then all 42.9 grams is presumably canola oil. Canola oil contains 0.6% erucic acid. Therefore, in 42.9 grams of canola oil there is 42.9 divided by 100 multiplied by 0.6 equals 0.257 grams of erucic acid equals 257 milligrams of erucic acid. The PTDI is 500 milligrams per day of erucic acid. Therefore, the intake of erucic acid as a percentage of the PTDI is 257 divided by 500 multiplied by 100 equals 51.4%. Therefore, option B is correct. Question 35. What would be the percentage of flaxseed oil in a mix of flaxseed and sunflower oils if the omega-6, omega-3 ratio were 2 to 1? The correct answer is D because of the following. Sunflower oil contains 65.7 grams of omega-6 per 100 grams of oil but no omega-3. Flaxseed oil on the other hand contains 12.7 grams of omega-6 and 53.3 grams of omega-3 per 100 grams. Therefore, when sunflower oil is added to flaxseed the level of omega-6 changes but the total omega-3 content stays the same. Take 100 grams of flaxseed oil. It will contain 53.3 grams of omega-3. To produce a ratio of 2 to 1 of omega-6 to omega-3, then the total omega-6 content must be increased from 12.7 grams to 53.3 multiplied by 2 equals 106.6 grams. This is an increase of 106.6 minus 12.7 equals 93.9 grams. To obtain this content of omega-6, the amount of sunflower oil needed to be added would be 93.9 divided by 65.7 multiplied by 100 equals 143 grams. This would produce a 243 grams mixture of flaxseed and sunflower oils with a ratio of omega-6 to omega-3 of 2 to 1. The percentage of flaxseed in this mixture would be 100 divided by 243 multiplied by 100 equals 41%. Therefore, option D is correct.